Hey guys, in this episode we're going to get up and running in PixiJS. So I'll show you where you can get the latest version of PixiJS, how you can set up a local server so that you can test your code locally, and then we'll go through the process of actually building and rendering stuff onto the screen. So let's dive in. So to get the latest version of PixiJS, you can go to pixi.js.com and click the downloads link. It'll take you to their GitHub page, and then you click on Releases, where you can see the latest releases of the library. You can then click on Pixi.js for the latest release, and it'll download it directly to your downloads folder. Then we just need to copy that file into our project directory. I want to point out that there's also a CDN.js version of Pixi.js, so if you want to use a version off of a CDN, you can do that as well. You can't do much in Pixi.js without loading images into WebGL, and due to browser security restrictions, you'll run into CORS issues if you try to load images off your local file system. So to test locally, we need to run a local server. So I'm going to open up Terminal, and I'm going to create a HTML file for us to serve by typing touch index.html. Then I'm just going to create a simple HTML document inside that file. So now we can start our server by going back to terminal and typing python-m simple HTTP server, and then the port that we want it to run on. If you're on Python version 3 or later, you'll do http.server instead of simple HTTP server. So now we can open up our browser and navigate to localhost with the port that we defined, and we should see our HTML. So now we're ready to start writing our code. So let's go back into our HTML and remove the hello copy that we had in there, and let's include the Pixi.js library. And then we'll just create a script tag which will contain all of our JavaScript. So let's create a canvas element with the ID myCanvas. And then we'll add some CSS to remove the margin from the body and style our canvas element as a block element. And then we'll make it blue so that we can actually see it on the page. So then if we go back to our HTML page, you should see our blue canvas element. So now we're ready to start writing JavaScript. So the first thing I want to do is get a reference to our canvas element. So I'll write document get element by ID myCanvas. The quickest way to get up and running in Pixi.js is by using this helper class they have called Pixi.Application. And this takes care of a lot of the boilerplate you would normally have to do when building an application in Pixi.js. So we'll do new Pixi.Application, and then we pass in an object of parameters that will define different attributes of our application. So for now, we'll just do the width and height of our application by passing in width as window inner width and height as window inner height, so that it's the full size of our browser. There are a couple ways that you can get your canvas element on the screen. So we can add it initially, or you can do document body append child app view. And then if we remove our canvas element that we placed in there before, and then preview our HTML, you'll see that we have our Pixi canvas rendering full screen in black. So let's add back in our canvas element, and we'll pass it in as a parameter to our Pixi application as the view. And then we'll just remove where we were adding it to the body below. So now that we have our application set up, we're going to load a texture. And we're going to do this by calling Pixi texture from, and then passing in the path to our image. Next, we're going to create our sprite by calling new Pixi sprite and then passing in the texture we just created. And now we can position our sprite. So we'll just set its X value to half the renderer's width and the Y value to half the renderer's height. This should put it at the center of our renderer. Now we just need to add it to the stage. So we can access the stage through app.stage and then call add child and pass in the sprite. Here you can see our image showing up on our renderer, but it's not quite center, and that's because the anchor point of our sprite is in the upper left corner. So because our sprite is a quad in WebGL, the center coordinates for the anchor are 0.5 on the x and y axis. So we can set the sprite's anchor x and anchor y to 0.5. And now you can see our sprite is correctly centered in the stage. So the next thing we want to do is move things around and animate our sprite. And because we're using the Pixi.Application helper class, it has a ticker or render loop built in. So we can access that through app.ticker add and then pass in the function that we're going to use as our loop. Then we can go ahead and create our animate function that we passed into the ticker. And then we can just update whatever we want to change inside our animate loop. So here I'm just incrementing the rotation. So if we preview this, you see our sprite is now rotating. And that's it. That's how you get things animating in Pixi.js. So that's it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to dive into the different classes that are involved in the Pixi.Application class. So how you can actually build a Pixi scene without this helper class. Thanks for watching.